You're listening to the House Guy and Home Girl podcast, a podcast about real estate and real life. As realtors, home builders, and real estate investors, John and Kim keep it real. Former teachers turned real estate professionals, they have a heart for helping others. Join them each week as they discuss all things home. And now, here's your hosts, John and Kim.
Hey guys, what's up? It's me, John the House Guy, here with my lovely co-host,
Kim the Home Girl.
And we are so excited for this week's show. Thanks for tuning in. We just want to kind of catch up with you. The National Association of Home Builders headlines come out once a week. I get an email from them once a week. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what's kind of going on in the housing market, the home building market across the U.S., and just kind of see what bounce those ideas around and talk about them a little bit.
Yes, because it's changing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like people that are not even on it are, people that are not looking for a house knows that it's changing. And, they know somebody that has been looking for a house that, things have changed for them in situations. And it was so hot for a minute or for a while actually, and then it's changed.
Right.
So
yeah, kind of like the weather here, right?
Right.
Yeah, it was almost
we
like
get
we
the
had
backstory on all that, though, through articles and the magazine, the National Home Builders.
Yeah, the National Home Builders, they send out an email update once a week, just basically keeping us all informed as home builders. So, but before we get into that, what's been the updates for you once a week? How's things been going in
once a week? This week?
Your life?
Last week?
Yeah, this week.
Oh,
like,
this week.
What's the update?
Just doing taxes and Lion King Jr.
Yeah, you got some stagehand experience.
Yeah, that was really fun.
This week,
I
right?
really enjoyed it. Like, put me, give me a job and I will do it. And I really had a good time with Nora too. Like, we got some, and then to see her in her environment with her friends, that was neat. And then we're going to Disney.
Coming up soon, yeah.
Trying to get ready for all that.
So,
what about you?
Chilling. Just you've been gone, dealing with the Lion King Jr. So yeah, Nora was a gazelle in the Lion King Jr. And so Kim's been gone doing that, and I've been here in the empty house for a couple days, which has been wild. That's not something that usually happens, but March Madness started.
Oh, that gets on my nerves.
Yeah, March Madness started, so I'm keeping up with that a little bit. And then, other than that, we, of course, like you mentioned, we got our taxes together, and those get more complicated every year, seems like. So we worked through that. You did a lot of work on that. I know it took a lot of your energy.
It was just so much, yeah.
Yeah, so, but yeah, other than that, just keeping things moving. I don't have a whole lot of building or client work going on right now.
Well, we've been finalizing that plan too. So, which you did an amazing job on the bathroom layout. I think
You heard it here first, folks.
he
Compliment from Kim.
he did. He took something that was dated. I consider dated, because you don't want to build a brand new house. You really have to do your research, and we had a podcast. If you've not seen that one, go back and watch it. But
Yeah, it released last week.
yeah, and we asked for your input. So what I consider dated, you may consider, oh, I really like that. So always, you can go back in and comment. But you revamped the bathroom layout, and it was very functional and modern, and that worked. And so we've still, we're still in the preliminary stages of
Yeah, it's finalized. We're just waiting.
Oh, is it done?
We're waiting on a final plan to come back. He said maybe beginning of next week we'd have a final plan, and we can
I'm excited
get
about
that one going. Yeah, it's gonna be a nice house for sure. So anything else you kind of want to recap or anything from the week that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my brain is fried, I think. Like, just like different things. So.
Yeah. So if you don't know, we shoot these shows on Friday, so we're always a little bit tired by the time we get to the end of the week. But it's a good practice to come in and kind of recap everything that we've had going on, and and get some updated information. So let's just kind of start on these headlines, and you and I will talk them through real quick, and then just kind
I
of.
probably already read some of them, but go ahead.
Yeah. So this one is from Newsweek. It says the housing market is in a tug of war. That's the headline. Housing market in tug of war as prices continue to drop across the U.S. By mid-2022, mortgage rates suddenly more than doubled. Most housing experts predicted that the booming market would finally cool down. After years of high demand, skyrocketing home prices and low inventory heated up the market so much that many aspiring buyers found homes simply unaffordable. Now the prices are starting to come back down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't see that as much here in our area. Now, we're kind of a localized market, right? We don't have.
Well, we're seeing homes on the market longer.
Yeah, days on market is extending.
So with that being said, there's that's given other people, more of an option. I don't know, like it's more available to other people, because in the past it was like, if you like this house, you better run, jump in the car and see it, as soon as it got listed. And now it's on the market for a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's available to more people. So, it's getting out to those California buyers, or, so, and also, if you remember, like back in, a year ago, or so, a house got listed, and you better see it, or 2 years ago.
Right. Well, the middle of last year is when we started to see a decline, June.
But the deal on that was, as soon as it got listed, you had to go see it, and then you were probably, if they really wanted that house, they were probably going to offer, the going rate around here was like $10,000 to $15,000
above asking. Strip your contingencies away.
If your client really wanted that house, you had to really help them in that area, because we were losing houses left and right. I mean, that's all you were doing for a minute.
Right.
Me too, just showing, and that house would just, somebody else would get it, or this person would get it. And so I think, as far as like the decline, I think they're still selling here, and the price is still holding pretty steady, because it's on the market for longer, and that's more people that can see it and think about it and then offer. Now, the general public, they don't know how much that house sold for usually. Mm-hmm. So, that's that too. But for the most part, though, it's pretty steady. I mean,
well, buyers that are willing to buy in this market at these interest rates have more choices now than they did, right? When money was cheap, when you got 2.5% interest, everybody could get free money, basically.
You could pick a house apart and then decide and sleep on it and pray about it.
Well, no, the opposite, right?
Right.
Like, you can do that now.
Now, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
now.
But then it was like, no, you better just take it like it
You better
sits.
not even breathe.
Yeah.
People weren't even like going inside homes.
Right.
It was
sight unseen, full cash offer, all that kind of stuff. So.
You did several FaceTime showings.
Yeah, that was interesting, because I mean, around here we don't see like we talk about national headlines. We're not we don't have those ups and downs like the nationwide, like the bigger markets, that kind of control this national narrative.
But at the same time, like our housing market, theirs will fluctuate. Like, I mean, theirs are in the millions.
Yeah.
Ours are pretty, there's not like you said, it doesn't fluctuate a lot. Ours are pretty much just steadily climbing.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of caught up to the national average in that run up. And now we're seeing a cooling, right? But I don't think we're going to see a wild swing backwards. I don't anticipate that. So, let's go to the next headline here.
Okay.
All right. So this next headline says, 3 million U.S. households making over $150,000 a year are still renting. Let me just click on that and see.
Okay, tell me that number again.
3 million U.S. people making over $150,000 a year are still renting. It says this talking about a 36-year-old guy who's an accountant, left Indiana for Central Florida, got a 6-figure job. But still decided that he was going to rent.
Now, renting is not the worst thing you can do, y'all. Okay, that is not the worst thing you can do. Continuing to rent after you have got, changed in your financial status, and you just keep climbing, continuing to rent is a bad choice, because at the end of the day, when you decide to move out of that home, there's nothing. You might get your deposit, that kind of thing, and that's usually less than $1,000.
Yeah, whatever you paid in,
Whatever
right? It's
you
your
paid
money
in,
you're
that's
getting
your
back.
You're not no kind of equity, nothing that you've paid in over all those years will you get back. So renting is not necessarily a bad thing. We rented for, I hate to say this, but we rented for, and we had we were in a position to where that was the best choice for us and our family. But now
Well, it was a lot of unknown, right?
was a lot of
are we going to stay
unknown.
here or not?
Right.
Can we sell a house? What we just didn't know what we didn't know.
But we rented for, let's just go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off and
4
tell 'em.
years.
4 years. We rented for 4 years. Now, granted, it was a new house, and looking at all, looking at all the ins and outs of the area and what was available, that was our best choice at the time. And looking back too, still though, I think we would have been better off.
We rented that house for 4 years
Buying.
at $850 a month, $40,800 that we got nothing for. Right?
So-
we got shelter.
4 years at 800. At the end of those 4 years,
850. What 850 is?
No,
what
that was 8.
was it 8? Well, so a little less than 40 then.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong.
I thought it was
y'all.
850, but either way, it's close to 40 grand either way,
Yeah.
right? $50 a month doesn't swing it. But our thing was we were young professionals there too. It's kind of the same deal that we're reading about here. But our deal was, well, are we going to stay here, or are we going to? And ultimately,
And we were
didn't.
away.
We
We were
moved.
away from home too. We
Right.
were like an hour away from home, and the fact that we don't want to be stuck living here, and that was the thing. And it was a new home, and so we basically got comfortable.
Well, we went from home ownership to renting too. Remember,
Right.
we owned a home that we sold, and we had kind of struggled through that, right?
in 2008.
Yeah.
So we sold at, was it 8 or 7? Oh, it was
It was 07.
It was 07 that we
Right.
sold. We sold
Right before the crash.
Yes.
Yeah, like it was in the midst of it, really.
Right.
And we got our money out. We were
did.
good. But that was the thing.
God shielded us in that.
But remember, it took a little while to sell, like maybe a month or two.
Yeah.
And it was one of those
Not
things.
really,
where,
though, because we had for sale by owner thinking that, we're young, we're going
Oh,
to keep
man.
our money, and a real estate agent isn't going to get any money. But what we didn't know was how that real estate agent is linked into all the other, there's so many, a system of other realtors, and basically, just advertising. It was going out. And once we did decide to list with a realtor, actually the realtor, I think, sold it to one of her clients that was looking.
pretty quick.
Yeah, honestly, John, I think we sold within like a week.
So we were those people that we can't stand, right? And we talk
We need
about
to
it.
remember that.
We talk about that all the time, like about younger people, especially, right?
Right.
Like they don't know what they don't know,
They
but
don't know what they don't know.
we didn't either.
We didn't. We
So-
didn't. Because when I'm seriously, I can look back. I have a little calendar. Yeah, I'm that person that keeps track of dates. But I think once we decided to list it, we sold it in a week. And then back
Well, I know I was driving from Keelan to Coleman
Right.
for longer than a week.
Right.
I know that. So,
Well, September 11th is when we moved to Coleman. So you do the
so
math
we did
on
band camp and all that stuff from Keelan.
that. So our house was not on the market very long. But anyways,
So
renting is not a bad thing, but continuing to
and we know a
be
lot
in
of
that-
teachers that do that too. That like tenure is a big thing. They're waiting around on tenure
Right.
before they buy a house, and some people don't do that. Like I had a client this year that just bought. It's his first year teaching first year teaching at a new school, and he bought. And I think waiting around on that is kind of a mixture of a couple things, right? You're young and you don't know if you're going to get tenure, you don't know if you're going to stay there, and then the idea of buying a house, and it's just like overcommitment. We were in the same boat, right? And then
But at the same time, we have had, we've had renters that decide to stop renting. I mean, wonderful renters that have, decided to stop renting. And we'll tell you straight up, if you rent one of our houses, we will help you buy, and we encourage you to buy a home. We want you in there, and of course we want those really good renters. But when it's time for them to buy, we are going to be their biggest cheerleader.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We actually sold like my favorite rent house. We sold it to the renters that were in there, and they are just happy. And they, I'm sad because that house was in such really good shape in the place that it was in. But those people that decided to purchase the house, they have saved. When did they purchase that house?
That was a couple of years ago.
2 years ago. So, like equity wise, I bet they're probably $40,000 like to the good right now. Oh yeah, because that was before.
And they were getting great interest rate at the time too, right? Yeah. So I mean,
right.
Yeah,
so they have
in good
literally,
shape.
if they were to sell it today,
And they've gained a lot in appreciation.
Yes, they have made like $30,000 to $40,000 over the course of 3 years. I think it's been 3 years. Yeah, it has been 2020, I believe. But yeah, I mean, if you're currently renting and you want to go out and rent, we will, walk you through, or currently renting and you want to go out to buy, we'll walk you through that process and explain, the good and the bad of it. But at the end of the day, y'all, it's always better usually to buy a house.
Yeah, to get something for your money, right? For sure. But I mean, it's a kind of a two-edged sword or whatever, right? Because we love renters.
That's what I'm saying.
They
I
pay,
know.
they pay for the houses, but
right.
at the same time,
we want you to be happy too.
Yeah, we want you to make the right decision for yourself, and
that renter that we had in the first house. That's in the White House in Sheffield. That guy was a great renter, and then he just recently
he bought a house.
Yeah, he bought a house.
Yeah,
and we were I'm still happy for that guy because he rented from us for like
a couple of years. Yeah, probably 3 years.
He was like. Perfect.
Yeah, he was a great tenant.
Yes.
Never complained, and got his own. Bought a house, and
we've been really blessed with good tenants. So.
All right, let's go to the next article. Let's kind of maybe wrap this up with one final article. This one says home builder sentiment rises for third straight month amid tight inventories. Confidence among U.S. home builders rose slightly in March. The third straight month, builders have increased their optimism about the U.S. housing market. So, talking about that, what that's basically saying is there's still a shortage of new home construction being made nationwide, right? So in other words, yes,
some of that has to do with land too. So
interest rates are higher, right? But new home construction is still short on inventory. So from the home builder perspective, it's not stopping us. Even the higher interest rates and all that, we're still about to build this house, try to sell it.
And other builders too are building.
Everybody, people are still building.
The people that were building before are still building.
Yeah, and so what that boils down to for somebody who's maybe looking to do a custom build though, versus like we're doing a speculative build. We're building it and we're hoping for an end buyer to come in and buy it when we're finished with it. The difference is if you're looking to build a custom build. Lumber is down more than it has been in a long time. Costs for materials are actually kind of getting better. They're not back to where I don't think they're ever going back to pre-pandemic, right? But
just like groceries, those groceries are not going back to pre-pandemic. That just about everything, like anything in a store. What was I looking at just the other day, and I'm like, oh my word! Oh, shoes. Kids shoes, y'all. $100 for a pair of decent kids shoes. Like, that's insane. But I don't think that those things are going to go back to the way they used to be. And so when you look at lighting and plumbing fixtures and just really everything, all that has took a leap too, because they're having to like go up in pricing just to put food on their table too. So that's just part of it.
The other thing to think about too, though, is if you're talking about building a custom built home, then you need to really, before you get too deep into that, folks need to make sure their permanent financing that they're going to be able to get is going to be able to be something they can afford. We don't consider that as much because we're building them to sell, right? But if you're building it as something that you're going to live in, you really need to be thinking about where is that interest rate going to go between now and say 8 months, 10 months later when I finish the house.
So basically when you finish a house, that's when you lock your interest rate in. So when you start the home, what the interest rate is currently will change when you lock the interest rate in on the completion date after you get your CO.
Yeah, you get a construction loan basically through the bank or whatever, and then basically you turn that into a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage. And
right, you have to get, they have to, inspectors have to go in there and check it, and then with that certificate of occupancy, go to the bank, and then that's when you lock it in.
Yeah,
so,
get your final rate there.
But you got to make sure.
Some banks will do it, a single close, right? So you can take your construction loan, and then you'll know what your rate is going to be when you finish, and they just roll it in. Mm-hmm. And then they make the fees on it, and then they send it out to a servicer or whatever.
But there's a cap on that money, and there's also you have to finish the house. You have to finish. You have to have landscape on the house. You have to have flooring, and I can think of a few homes right now that they spent too much money on the front end, and then they didn't have enough money for flooring. They had, they didn't have enough money for just very few minimal, maybe 2 plants, for landscaping. But you've got to finish. And that's where a good home builder comes in because of budgeting. And most banks, before they actually lend you the money, they require...
they're going to want a blueprint. They're going to want a cost estimate.
A cost estimate, that's it. So basically, they want a list of everything that's going to happen, is framing. I can't think of all the little, and there's like
an itemized list. Basically, right? But we see, like I said, in this headline, confidence is rising among home builders on that side of it. So the real estate agent side of things that we do is kind of slowing down a little bit, but the home builder side of things that we do kind of picks us up a little bit. We can have some confidence building that house moving forward. Hey, nationwide, the sentiment is growing. New construction still has a shortage in inventory, so we can kind of try to fill that gap there, which is I think the kind of the beauty of our approach to it, right? Because we can balance all that out.
And two, every time we finish a house, we get the house complete, we're like, man, I wish I had 5 of those.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
Right.
I don't think there's ever been a time that we finished a house we're like, oh gosh, I'm glad I don't, I don't want to see that house plan, or, every time we finish. And then homes, so many times we finish a home for a custom buyer, a client, there's somebody that's like asking us, is that house for sale?
Do you want to sell it?
Do you want to sell it? And which our custom build, he did consider it, because we've had some bids or hits on that. So people are looking for newer homes like that. That's legitimately, I see that here in Alabama.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's across the country. That's kind of the deal, So, well, I think that'll do it for this week's show, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in and listening to this. This is the housing headlines for the week of March 13th. This show will probably air a little bit later than that, but that's kind of a snapshot of what's kind of going on. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you, or leave us a review. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the House Guy and Home Girl podcast, your #1 source for all things home. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out our YouTube page for video content from the show.